AM 1220 KHTS, we're continuing our dialogue, our discussion. It's not really a debate, but we're talking about the local suits that have been brought against school districts in the city of Santa Clarita by plaintiffs in a suit to trying to maybe make some changes or open up some eyes to the perception that all is not right with voting here in Santa Clarita. And doing that, we've got, of course, KHTS's news director Perry Smith. We have attorney Kevin Shenkman. He is representing some of the plaintiffs in these cases. We also have KHTS show host and Hart School Board member and concerned citizen, I'll add that title, Joe Messina. Joe is speaking today as a concerned citizen and not as a Hart School Board member. I believe we've covered our behinds enough, gentlemen. Perry, I know you want to
I just want to make that clear.
Continue.
Joe Messina is the Hart Board president, but he is not here in that capacity.
Yes.
It's very clear. And what we were just talking about on the break was the letter from Shenkman and Hughes that was sent to the city of Santa Clarita, basically looking to open the dialogue. Joe feels that it's opening the dialogue is a harsh term for it, but Kevin, you said you don't even have to send the letter. Talk to me about your approach on that and where you feel that falls.
Look, the city of Santa Clarita in particular has known this was coming down the pipe for over a year. When we filed the case against Palmdale, the city hall was downloading the complaint over and over again. And obviously, based on what the school district said to the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, they saw this coming down the pipe too.
Quick question. We don't have any resolution on the Palmdale. We're waiting to hear on what happened in the...
Correct. The trial's over. Judge, should be coming back anytime now. I'm confident that we'll prevail on that one. But as far as the letter invites a conversation, and we didn't get that conversation. And I've since invited a conversation through the press, and I'll do it again today. I invite a conversation with any of the city council members, their attorneys, the school board members. We've gotten none. What more can we do?
So let's just deal with that because it's fresh. So what you're saying is you wouldn't go forward with action if in the near future we would all agree to sit down with you and talk through a resolution. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that option is still available.
Okay, so the short answer is yes. If we would sit down with you, if we would all sit down with you, the representatives from the school boards, water boards, and the city council,
I think that would be a good thing to happen. And
Absolutely. The water boards haven't been involved in any litigation.
Well, not yet. I mean, let's be honest about it. You can't take on 9 suits at one time. Well, there are some people that dull, but you don't look like you're that dull. You couldn't afford to expend that kind of money until you win or what have you.
These cases are not cheap.
Okay,
that's for sure.
So right, and this is why my 4-1 vote, when I advocated that we all got together, decided what the course of action was, and run as one united front. And anyway, that's beside the point.
And like I was saying, though, the county has rejected this with a 2-1 vote. I mean, so where does the action become on the school district as opposed to on the county? If the school districts are looking to remedy the situation, acknowledging, the validity of your statements, again, we're just suppositioning that, but it happens, they make the move, and then the county says, no, you can't move your elections to even number years to increase the turnout, which is one of the things you're talking about. And again, I use the term access only because that's, in the lawsuit. I know we're not literally talking about, access, but, talk to me about that, Kevin.
Sure. The California Voting Rights Act provides for a broad range of remedies to be implemented. District-based elections are certainly the most common, but they're not the only ones. We could talk about cumulative voting, limited voting. Part of the remedy that was proposed by the school boards, minus Mr. Messina here, is to in part move the elections to even years so that they coincide with governor and presidential elections. There are a number of other different things that could be done to alleviate or remedy the problem. Districts or not. That's a conversation that I think ought to take place, and it hasn't, because I've invited it, It hasn't happened. I'm still waiting.
So limited voting looks at the form of you only get to vote for one candidate.
It's still an at-large system, but the number of votes that you get, it would no longer be vote for not more than 5 or vote for not more than 3.
It'd be vote for one.
It would be vote for 1 or perhaps more, but less than the total number of seats on the board.
And if you have, like in a situation where we have in this city council race, we already have 2 Hispanic candidates who have qualified, so how would that increase your access? If you're a Hispanic Latino voter and you can only vote for one candidate.
Yeah, not to get too much into the math of it and the threshold of exclusion, and it gets fairly complicated. Well, my experts could certainly do it better than I could. But I will tell you that cumulative voting and limited voting are both remedies that have been implemented in jurisdictions in federal Voting Rights Act cases, particularly in, I believe, Texas and Alabama. They've been very popular and very successful. Port Chester, New York, very recently went to a cumulative voting system, and it's been successful there.
So it's not a matter of Hispanics running, right? So it doesn't matter if they've run and lost, or is
I think the fact that they've run and lost proves my point.
Well, okay.
Not proves, but further demonstrates.
So then we were a racist country for 200 years. There was no way we were going to vote in a black or female president because they've run and lost.
No one's calling anyone a racist here.
But
I certainly haven't called anyone a racist.
But what you're saying is, in essence, what you're saying is that because Hispanics have won and lost, that proves the point. But how do you say that when you have De La Cerda, you have Gloria McArdle 4 times, Steve Sturgeon, they've run and won. So what is it? The Hispanics only liked them and came out and voted for them?
You're talking.
They don't like the other ones?
You're talking about boards that we have not filed a lawsuit against.
But the premise is the premise. Take the board name away. You're saying, and we're district-wide. The Hart School Board is, those same Hispanics that would vote in those races that you say they don't have the ability to elect a Hispanic have come out and voted and elected other Hispanics. Maybe the ones that have run in the past don't meet their requirements. They don't want to vote them in. You can't use it in one place and not use it in another. It makes no sense.
Very simply, the law directs us of what elections to look at.
So we're back to the law is the law is the law, and nothing else matters.
Well,
we shouldn't tweak it.
There are laws that I'd like to change too,
speed limit for me. But you talked about districting. So we've talked to a couple. I've talked to a couple of demographers now, right? You want to use the number of 30%. You and I have already had that discussion. It's really not a real number because you've got to back out some of the other people who can't vote and what have you. If you district, unless you really want to get into gerrymandering, the natural district will be about 17 or 18% Hispanic. So now you're driving their numbers down even more. If you want to bring it back up to close to 30, 24, 25, 26, you've really got to start creating fingers in the pockets if you get to know this.
I don't think that's true, Joe. I mean,
they had the problem before.
Santa Clarita has 2 areas that have Hispanic concentrations, okay? There's one in Newhall, and there's one in Canyon Country, centered around Whites Canyon and Soledad Canyon. I know particularly the Canyon Country area well because my in-laws live there, and I go through there all the time. You can tell where the Hispanic neighborhoods are. So, it's not as though Hispanics are evenly dispersed throughout the city of Santa Clarita.
I'd like you to show me that, because I can't.
Well, we can take a look at the demographics map.
I can in some areas of Newhall, but I cannot in Canyon Country. I just want to say that.
Well, back to the questions, though. You, Kevin, earlier in one of your answers, you had said that there's a number of arguments against districting, but then, where are the solutions then if you're not districting? I mean, limited voting, you only get to vote for one candidate. I just don't see how that really increases your access.
Again, I don't think it's necessarily about access. It's about a minority being able to elect their candidates of choice. And so it's particularly effective, both limited and cumulative voting are particularly effective at allowing a minority to elect their candidate or candidates of choice where that minority community coalesces around one candidate and all vote for that one candidate, and then the majority has a number of different candidates, and that majority tends to split their vote amongst those several candidates. That's kind of how cumulative and limited voting tend to alleviate the dilutive effects of an at-large election.
But I just want to get something clear in my mind, because I don't want to walk away from this. You've got a city council election that covers a smaller area than a Hart School District. right? We have to cover the whole valley. They cover certain areas of the valley. So we submit to the same voting block, both of us. Ours is actually larger, but we submit to the same voting block. We are both at-large entities and agents. We have had good Hispanic candidates run, and they get elected. Apparently, at the city council level, forgive me, Michael Cruz, we've had bad candidates run because they haven't got elected. I think in using some of your logic, I can say to you, it's worked with one group and not the other. Why? Is education more important, or I don't understand? Enlighten me.
I thought you were here as a concerned citizen, Joe.
I am. I'm no different than your buddy. I'm no different than your buddy, Mr. Cameron, who will love that I mentioned his name. And I'm saying the numbers don't match up. It just doesn't make sense.
And Kevin, you mentioned the cost of the election. Maybe here's your chance to kind of explain that a little bit.
Sure. I mean, I think you'd have to agree that district-based elections cost less because you only have to campaign in 1/5 or 1/7 of the jurisdiction. That tends to favor poorer or minority candidates.
And I will let you a chance to explain that a little bit more when we get back from the traffic break. I got to swing it to Jason, and then we'll come back.